Hello and welcome to the latest episode of The Talking Tradesman. With me in the studio today, I have Nicola from CT1. So Nicola has flown all the way just to be on the podcast today. Nicola, massive thank you for coming today. Let's talk.
Yes, let's talk indeed. And I do like telling people how early I got up. I got up at 2, I got up at 3. In fact, I didn't go to bed.
Absolutely. Massive effort.
Yeah, no. And thank you for having me, because obviously the last time we were here, it was your 1-year anniversary.
It was a combination 1-year anniversary and an opening kind of thing.
Oh, right. Okay.
Because I finished this studio, I think it was like mid-November.
Okay.
So because it was Christmas coming up, it was like, I can't have a party now. Nobody will come. It's Christmas.
Yeah.
So then I was like, I need to leave it a
I'll
little
always
bit.
come. Don't worry.
Need to leave it. Well, there we go. Need to leave it a little bit after Christmas. So it was the first of Feb, wasn't it? It wasn't that long ago.
Yeah, it was actually. Yeah, that's right. And it was before, obviously, it was the weekend for the convoy for the
it was the tool
theft. Yes, indeed, yeah. So
there might still be some sticky patches of floor, to be fair. I've only just finished cleaning the champagne off the ceilings.
No, it was great. And and also as well, like these kind of things as well, like I made so many new friends, and a big shout out to my new best friend Matt Interiors.
Matt Willis,
love Matt. And there was just so many awesome people here that night, and it's just like wow, there's just incredible people that, obviously.
Don't you find that though? Personally, I mean, I know I'm massively biased, but I find that the trades industry is just full of like salt of the earth characters.
Oh, I just absolutely love it. And I've mentioned this on other podcasts, and I wanted to say as well, obviously we spoke about this before. I was like, oh God, another podcast. I think when people open up their Instagram and they see me again, be like, not her again.
No,
so I promise this is my last one for a while. Because I just feel like I've done like 2 back-to-back, so maybe people are like, oh God.
Honestly, it's a pleasure to have
it's her again.
We've got different audiences, so there will definitely be people listening today that have not heard from you before. But what I want to do, I said this before, is take it in a little bit of a different direction and find out more about you, about the person behind the brand. But before we get onto that, just while I remember, I actually want to say a big thank you as well to you and CT1 for sponsoring the guides for the climb that we're going to be doing.
Oh, yes.
The climb from darkness in association with On the Tools. But it's a big thank you to you guys for reaching out and sponsoring that, because it all helps with the cause, which is a fantastic cause, which is to support the Project 7000 Lost City project.
Yes. Because we're obviously very much aligned with On the Tools, and we always support anything to do with the trade, whether it be from, obviously we're a big advocate, and we'll probably touch on that a bit later, prime partner with Band of Builders, but we do a lot of other work as well behind the scenes. So with CT1, it's certainly just not about the product; it is about the brand, and we truly care about the end user. You guys, you are our best friends, and we've got such a good community of great. They're not influencers or people you work with or people in the trade. They've become solid friends.
I love that. I've said this pre-record. The thing I love about what CT1 are doing is building that community, because you go to any trade show, CT1 have always got the biggest stand. You know what I mean? They've always got the people on it that you know. But what it's doing, I've said this before, the people that are building like high profiles in social media, it's raising the reputation of the industry as a whole. So it's improving the whole construction industry by giving it that spotlight. And you guys are helping the people, like you said, the end user, to do that, which is ace.
Definitely. And I think that it's just, I keep on obviously banging the drum about the construction industry as a whole, and obviously that covers all the trades. It is the most amazing industry to work in. The people in it just make it. And I think then as well, obviously you get a lot of sometimes negativity. It's not gonna be utopia every day. Of course, we have built a really good community, and that is a genuine thing. We treat everybody equal. Everybody's on the same path, whether you have 3 or 4 followers or 3 million. Everybody is trying to make their way in the world at some level. Everybody's trying to sell something or put their brand out there, or to be in front of somebody. And I think social media is a fantastic platform to do that. And of course, we know it can be a monster. And obviously you're going to get some negativity, but I often think that's a reflection on the person and not on specifically, somebody that makes comments or is spreading negativity. That I think that can be a reflection. And I suppose that's what we're going to talk here today about, like, you know, mental health in construction, but
Yeah,
mental health overall. So if somebody's like not very happy and not very, I think that people tend to make those kind of comments.
They do. And you always tend to find that people always take shots at people above them, never below.
Oh, I like that. So wise.
But it's the truth though, isn't it?
Yeah,
You tend to find, you know, people who are genuinely doing well in life and so successful, they haven't got the time for that.
No, and I don't think, and look, we're in a very privileged position, and by no means, that's not like we had some master plan, what will we do? That's happened organically because we are a family run business. So we've treated everybody within the CT1 umbrella as a family member. With all of our, you know, directors that have been there from the day one, they're like my brothers. We're all, you know, in it together, from all the area sales managers to the merchandisers, but also as well the end user, like all of the tradespeople. So a lot of tradespeople will come up and they know us by name. They get involved on the stand. We have a bit of crack, we have a bit of a laugh, and then we like treating people. So obviously we're really famous for the, you know, the CT1 limo and all of that.
Everyone knows about the CT1 limo and the mysteries of what goes on inside it.
Look, some of us would love to know what goes inside. But sometimes it's a mystery, yes, indeed. But we like treating people. We like reward, you know, being part of a family and gang. That's what you would do, maybe going to a wedding or a 40th, because it's a really good community, and the laughs we have, and everybody gets on so well. And we wouldn't tolerate anybody dissing another member, and then they kind of maybe just fall back a little, because it really is. And we've such a fantastic network of people in the head office. And, you know, it really is. It's, you can feel the energy. You know, don't they say, like, we're all made up of energy?
Vibrations. Yeah.
So, you know, if you've gone into a room, I read that somewhere recently, and if somebody had an argument, the tension's in the air. I feel genuinely when people come onto the CT1 stand, it's electric. You get like such a buzz out of it, and we draw. That's because people are having a good time. And
that's the expression good vibes, though, isn't it? That's where that comes from. It's good vibrations, positive vibrations, positive energy.
Yeah.
And you're right, you can tell if somebody walks into a room who's pissed off. There's that heaviness, isn't
It's the heaviness. You can feel somebody's heaviness, and it's amazing how you can feel somebody's. Yeah, if somebody, you know when something's up, don't you? Like if you just, you can 100%. Just feel that weight around them. But yeah, so with CT1, where we've liked to, and again, that's happened organically. It's not like we sat in a boardroom and not, how will we create this? It's honestly, it's just genuinely happened organically, from including everybody and treating everybody with a bit of respect.
I think it makes a big difference as well doing what you're doing. So being there, like you've said, I bet people are sick of seeing me win. Like,
I'm sick of seeing me.
But people don't know, or people are not. And the reason I say that, it's nice to have a brand as prominent as CT1 with somebody that you can like associate with, get to know a little bit. Yeah, exactly. Because there's so many really good brands out there across all industries, but you've got no idea like who's the person behind Tesco's. You don't know who the MD of Tesco's is. Potentially.
Yeah.
But you know what I'm saying? There's nobody to connect with. And I think when you can, as a brand, invoke any kind of emotional attachment, like people think, I'm going to buy CT1 because actually I know about Nicola, or I've heard about Jimmy or whatever. And, you know, there's that.
For the good or the bad.
There's that. But potentially.
Yeah.
You can't have everybody as your tribe anyway. And that's cool as well.
Yeah, that's good. You know? Look, you're not going to win everybody, but we do have, and it was interesting, you know, to find out, because we say that we're the number one sealant and adhesive on the market. And we know that we always thought it, but you've got everything we say we can back up in writing, and I've said that before in different things. So another shout out to On the Tools. We wanted to find out, and we conducted a survey, and obviously I said to them, look, if the results are not favourable, don't publish it. And I was like, but thankfully they were. And we wanted to find out, you know, were we the most respected and trusted brand? It's all well and good having a product, and some people might buy a product, but they don't necessarily like the people behind the brand, the people who represent the brand, the people who make the product or whatever, but they buy it because it's just doing a job. But we come out trumps in that people genuinely liked being part of the CT1 umbrella, and the CT1 kind of what we do, we'll share a tag, we'll send, even small things like somebody asked us before for like a keyring, and it was just, but taking the time out to do that, because at the end of the day, we thank them for that, because, for somebody to ignore that is at their peril,
Look, I can speak testament, you said you were going to come to the open day, you did.
I did.
You said you were going to come today, that you did.
Did.
You've flown all the way over just to be here today. But it means a lot when you come up against people that do what they say they're going to do.
Oh, no, I think it's really important. And that's what, again, as a brand, anything that we say we do, we do. And I think that anybody, if you say you're going to do something, do it. So, you've invited me a couple of times, and a couple of times I just couldn't do it because but I was adamant I was going to be here and I wouldn't let you down. And I just, to let somebody down is not, because we're going to be friends forever, the work that you're doing. So, and your time is precious too.
I appreciate it.
You have to respect that. Your time is precious as well.
Do you know what though? One of my biggest lessons in life, Nicola, like for my own mental health and my own sort of like mindset, has been to drop expectations. So like my personal thing, I don't carry expectations on people, because things do happen. People do let you down. And if you take that personally, all that's going to do is fuck up my day.
Yeah.
So I've got one of those sort of outlooks now where, not that I ever doubted for a minute you'd come, but if you'd a message and gone, oh, look, Russ, this has come up, I'd be like, okay, no worries. Well, what else got to do with the day?
Okay.
Do you know what I mean?
I like that. You're very wise. How much is your fee for all this advice?
Listen, trust me, I wasn't always this way. It's been a long, painful journey to get to where I'm at.
But life is a journey. And I think that, it's what you do with that journey. Obviously, life throws all kinds of crap at you. And it's how you deal with that. And I suppose that's what the great work that you're doing here, I suppose, is giving that audience that's listening those maybe tips of how to handle things. Like you're after giving me 2 tips there.
There's tips, but I think the biggest mission of the podcast, it's really simple. Like, I don't overcomplicate it. So the mission of this podcast is just to let people know it's okay to talk. It's as simple as that, as a baseline. So particularly, like, you're aware, the men in construction are struggling. Like, there's a mental health crisis. When you look at the construction industry in the UK, is the worst industry to be in for male suicide figures.
Yep.
By quite some stretch. You're 4 times more likely to take your own life if you're a man in construction than in other industries.
Yeah.
And one of the main things for me, like I've seen the power of it firsthand, is letting people know it's okay to talk.
Yeah.
Break down that stigma, to know that you can have an alpha male who's worked in construction their whole life, that it's okay to sit down and go, do you know what? At the minute, I'm struggling. Yeah.
I actually had a think about this as well, because I know this podcast is a bit different from others, which is great, because, you need, everything should be a bit different, and it's very unique, and the work you're doing is great.
Thank you.
And then I thought about this, and I was like, and it's just frightening to hear that these statistics, and that was kind of hard to say, statistics. And I thought about that as well. And a lot to do with, and again, another shout out to Pete on Off the Job. We talked about this as well. It's the environment as well. And when I got up this morning and I was going to the airport, I remember I got up at 3. I want you to remember that. It was dark. It was miserable. Yep. It was raining. It was cold. But I knew I was like getting on a plane. Obviously, I was only going to Birmingham, but I was coming here today to
only a different... Birmingham, Nicola.
Well, no, amazing Birmingham. Birmingham's brilliant.
What's that meant to mean?
No, but like I wasn't getting on a plane to go to, the Bahamas or anything. But I could imagine somebody in construction, especially sole traders, I do find, because you have a lot of time on the van in your own. And if you're on site, you've got that camaraderie. You're on a building site, you're part of. But if you have to do that, and I know so many of my male friends, and that can, in the winter, you have to have a strong mindset. Yeah. It's cold, it's freezing. You're afraid if you jump out the fan, the tools are going to be stolen, which often can happen. It's Baltic. It's you're in darkness from pretty much when you get up. It's like the Middle Ages. It's like, that's why people in the Middle Ages only lived till they were 40. Honestly, because there was no light. Obviously, now we have TV and social media, and you've got other stimulants to keep you going. But, and obviously better healthcare. But like the life expectancy generally, because it was miserable.
It's interesting you say that, because to back that up, so the 2 worst affected trades in construction for, unfortunately, those suicide figures are plasterers and decorators. Now,
Oh, wow.
if you think about it, they're the two finishing trades, so also the two most likely to be working alone.
Oh, that is so interesting. Okay, that is, well, yeah, because they're in after, whereas the other trades, I don't know, the joiners and the sparkers, they can be
Yeah.
on site at the same time.
More
and you have that
likely to be
banter.
working in that sort of, like you say, like a site environment. So chippies, sparkies are more likely to maybe be on site together or part of a crew or part of a gang. Bricklayers tend to work as a gang.
Yes.
And don't get me wrong, that's still badly affected. The statistics
Yeah,
are
it's
still
not
bad.
just saying it's that,
But
yeah.
the two worst trades in amongst construction are the two finishing
And
trades.
it's just, so what you're doing here even highlights the importance of it. And every day is a school day, as they say. So there you go. And as I said, as I was thinking about this, and again, I've mentioned it on other podcasts, I lived in Australia for years. So I lived in Sydney, and construction was a booming over there. Like, it was huge. And a lot of Irish guys obviously made their way over. But in general, and I worked in a real Aussie bar, and a lot of trade come in. And it's not high over there because you got to look at their environment.
Yeah.
They're waking up to the sun. They're waking up to 30 degrees. They have Fridays, they don't do work. Fridays is like beer o'clock is at 12 o'clock. They have a really good they're really good at social activities outside. So you don't have to be the fittest or whatever. They have the Barbies. They all pile into the pub at about 12 o'clock. And I'm not obviously encouraging people to go out binge drinking at 12, but they have that community. They go in for one or two schooners, that's the same. We had happy hour. So they'd fill it. The sun is beaming in. They're going home to jump in a pool, or they're going down for a dip in the beach. I mean, and they're working outside. And obviously in the winter, they do have a winter. It's nothing like here, but you're in the sunlight and the light for massive amount of periods of time.
I'm going on to pack my bags.
But and they're males, but the suicide rate is not, and obviously they all have issues as well. Money issues, family, divorce, other issues that affect other humans, but their environment is so much more different. I think agriculture would be higher out there because, again, in agriculture in Australia, you're out in the outback, so you're very much alone. It's isolation out there.
It's a big thing. Isolation plays such a big part. I mean, if you think, where else do you find isolation? I mean, it's literally used as a punishment. So if you're in prison, you misbehave, you get isolation. Yeah. If you're at school, they isolate you as punishment.
Yeah.
Yet a lot of us tradespeople do it to ourselves every day.
Yeah.
Which is one of the reasons I thought a podcast would be a great outreach, because me, myself, what I did at work, or what I still do, if I'm working on my own, I put my headphones on, I put a book on, or a podcast.
Yes.
And in a weird way, if you get the right podcast that you connect with, it's almost like
somebody's talking to you.
You're in a room.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. You're the third person kind of spectating the conversation.
Yeah, I think that a lot as well is like, self-care for, and it was interesting as well. I spoke with an Uber driver there a couple of weeks ago. If I'm not in a plane and I'm an Uber, and he was into all to self-care, and he was saying that obviously he likes the part of the job because he's talking to all kinds of like people, like, varies. And obviously there's some people that don't want to talk, I guess, like a tradesperson, if the house owner doesn't want to talk and uncommunicated, and then you probably have house owners that are like breathing down your neck. There could be a happy in between. But basically he said his self-care, like every day afterwards, he goes to the gym. If he's a quiet time on the Uber app or whatever, he will go and have a sauna, go for a swim, and do that kind of stuff, and then be in a different environment, not stuck in the car. So I think that there's a lot of self-care tips that we can share that, I suppose that people don't.
Do you know what? To me, the very first stage, though, is understanding or admittance that mental health exists.
Yeah.
Because if you're not going to look after something you don't believe exists, and there's still a lot of people out there that will completely deny that they have mental health.
Yeah.
The problem with that is when you say to somebody you have mental health, they automatically assume that what you're saying is you are mentally ill. But it is so. You can talk about it, and that's where people get the confusion.
Then they get their back up and go, no, we're not.
Exactly. The reality is everybody has mental health. It's just like physical health. You've got it. It might be really good. You might never notice it.
Yeah.
I've said this before. It's like, do you wake up in the morning and realise you've got a left arm?
That is...
Like, you don't, but if it was broke, you would.
That is so... Do you know what? I was just thinking about this the other day as well. I have a really close friend at home, a male friend at home. And I will go into that in a minute because I like to do a meditation and, you know, trying to be always and be grateful for the small things. And he's just had his leg amputated.
Oh, wow.
And he's actually like he's got like his mindset's really good because the leg was really bothering from a long time. So he's really had the positive, but that took a lot of really good willpower, mentally willpower to go like, I'm better off without this. But could you imagine waking up with no leg?
Yeah.
That you think that, oh God, I've got a problem and I can't pay this bill, or this happened, that happened. Imagine having no leg, wouldn't it be worse? So I would always try and look at the cup half full, say if something's bad. Well, it could be worse. I could be laying in the bed and I can't get up to fix this problem. So it's really, you know, to even focus on the small things. Thank God I have my sight. Thank God I have the ability to move. You know, I can go to the gym. I remember when it was 3 years ago during lockdown, good times, and I broke my leg at the gym.
You broke your leg at the gym?
I broke my leg at the gym.
Come on, we got to hear about it. How did that happen?
I was doing box jumps and it was actually so I was doing box jumps and I was doing them really quickly and I landed on the side of my foot and I actually heard the bone crack. And I was like, but see the way you can jinx yourself, because 2 weeks before that I had a conversation with people and I was like, thank God I never broke my leg. I broke my arm twice, but I never broke my leg. Literally, as long as I see the power of what you say.
Yeah.
When you say things can actually happen, I broke my. Well,
they say the gym's good for you.
Well, you know, but then so I broke my my foot. It was, and then I had to go and I was in a plaster of Paris, and I live on my own, and then I have big stairs, and I was like, I'll be grand. I can manage this, you know, independent with crutches up my stairs. And I realised very soon that I needed help, and it was like a scene out of Misery. I was climbing up there. I was shuffling up the stairs, but I had to have help then. But I was then out of, I couldn't drive. I had to move in then to my sister's house. I was in the plaster of Paris, and I could have, like, I felt miserable for a few days, and I was like, do you know what? This is not a bad thing. Imagine this will get better. Imagine if this was a permanent thing.
Do you know what though, Nicola? It's actually a great analogy to transfer to mental health, because what you said there basically is that 99% of your life, you're absolutely fine. You don't need help walking.
Yeah.
Occasionally, you're going to hurt yourself. You broke your leg. So for that short period of time, you had to ask people for help just while you got better. It's exactly the same as mental health.
Well, that's exactly
99% of the time, you go through life absolutely fine. But when you are struggling, you do need to ask for help.
Yeah, absolutely. And I tried to prove that point. You know, I was at home I spent a day and a night on my own. I was like, I can't do this. I need help.
There you go.
So so I suppose that's a good.
Well, do you know what? Let's go back to the start. Let's find out a little bit about yourself. It's very obvious that you're not from England. So
no way, we'll give that away.
Let's go back then and find out a little bit about you, about where you got started, how you got into CT1, all those bits and pieces.
Yeah.
So where did you grow up?
Well, I was, and again, I've said this on other podcasts, I was actually born in the UK, and then I moved over to Ireland. My parents are obviously Irish, and we moved back home when I was like, I think 7 or 8.
Okay.
Or maybe a bit younger. Yes, we grew up in Ireland. So Ireland was a fantastic place to grow up. And I have to say, you know, it's
whereabouts?
Just on the border of Northern Ireland. But yes, very safe. And, you know, it's very green and all of that. And I suppose then you're maybe missing out the excitement in the UK. And obviously growing up in London's a lot different. You know, there's so, like, to grow up in London, I'd find probably very exciting as well. I can remember it when I was 8 or 9, but, you know, I suppose your teenage years would be very different.
London, for me, I don't mind dipping in and dipping out, but I can't think of anything worse than living there.
Yeah, I always thought, like, I mean, I love cities and so on, but, and I work a lot in central London for different things, like I like an award and this and the other. And you spend half your life in traffic.
Yeah.
Now that must affect people's, I felt like I was losing the plot when I was in traffic for about an hour. People have to do that every day.
Yeah.
Oh my God. The resilience they have to have, my hat's off to them.
I think it's just the speed of life for me. It's too much. Like, everybody's running everywhere all the time.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
It's just rush.
It is.
Rush.
It's very like there's no kind of like yes. So where I'm from now, it's like you'll see people like up the road and you'll stop for a little chat, and it's all very kind of like that. But in saying that, I do love London as well. I mean, come on, the shop and the restaurants and nightlife. What's not to like?
But that's it though, isn't it? You got the best boat. You can dip in,
Yeah.
have your little fix, and then.
Well, I suppose it's what you're used to. If you don't know any different, I think that if you've grown up in London, brought up in London, that's your home, that's your environment. You that's what you're used to, I guess. That's what,
so.
yeah. So yeah, I grew up in Ireland, and then I suppose it's no secret now because as I said, I've mentioned this on two other podcasts. Even though I'm very conscious, this is my third. I feel like I've been on these a lot. And I want to remind everybody this is only my third.
Honestly, you're okay. Let's hear it. Let's hear it.
So it's a family-run business. And then I got my degree in marketing, and I wanted to do my own thing. And my parents, the CEOs. And then I went, I had various jobs I worked for Bordish Gawara, which is the Irish Sea Fisheries Board. And I had to market...
The Sea Fisheries Board.
I know. They talk about this on Trade Legends as well. They're like, this is where the glamour's at.
Yeah.
I had the consumption of fish, which you believe was very low. So I had to market and create events to encourage the consumption of fish. And I didn't even bloody like it at the time.
You had to
so to pretend I really liked it. Yeah.
It's one of those, isn't it? If you can sell fish, I guess.
But I grew to like it because actually it wasn't just, it was loads of different things you can do with fish, which I don't cook. So I never actually picked up anything, but I had to organise various roadshows and all of that. And then I worked for a different organisation in Ireland, and they promoted female entrepreneurship. And I had to organise events to promote female entrepreneurship in rural Ireland. So that was really good. And then developed kind of editorial skills like writing press releases, organising events, getting guest speakers, all that kind of stuff. And then I worked for JC&Co, which is the outdoor media company. And then I was like selling outdoor space. So lots of various marketing roles and sales roles. And at that time, CT1 was being developed.
Okay.
And I had summer jobs in the office and,
What does CT1 stand for, Nicola?
Construction Technology Number 1.
Okay. Right.
Yeah. Get it now. Yeah. I only learned that yesterday. Would you?
No.
So I had, I did like summer work, and then, and CT1 as a brand was growing, and then, it started to grow the brand. So a lot of, work and effort and research and development and money and time. And my parents were doing that alongside the other directors that have developed the UK, and the brand started growing. And as I said, I had various jobs during the summer and doing sales and admin and so on. And my dad then, Jimmy, one of the CEOs, wanted to put me through a training school because he said you'd be really good at selling sealants. I said, I'm not going to sell a sealant. Sealants are not glamorous. But
not as glamorous as fish, yeah.
No, but Bordish Gawara was like, a government-run body. So for me, like, it was hardly the MI5, but still. And he said you'd be really good at selling. And I was like, anyway, give it a go. And yeah, so I actually really enjoyed it. So I went through a technical training school, and then went over and developed an area and actually sold CT1 for a while, made good money. And it was a really, it was brand new. This was like 25 years ago. So then I went to Australia, and I stayed in Australia for nearly 10 years. But as the brand grew and I was doing marketing, I then started doing marketing for CT1 on the sideline.
How did that, because there was a jump there, like, how did that come about? Like, why did you decide to go to Australia, or?
Well, God, I actually, because I was working in a company, and then I was, I was in my 20s, and I was going out with somebody, and, back then it's very dramatic, break up. Oh my God, I can't say here. But I decided, I just want to get out. I want a fresh, scenery. And Australia always appealed to me. And my sister had done it. And I was like, if I don't do it now, I'm never going to do it. And I was like, I really want to go to Australia. Why not? So I went to go over, do the backpacking thing, but I arrived in Australia, and I was like, hello, I have landed in, this heaven. This is utopia. This is nirvana. Oh my God, you've got everything here. So I was only meant to last for a year. and I made it work. And I suppose through grit and determination, I was like, I'm not leaving here.
Which part did you go to?
Well, I travelled all around, and then I settled in Sydney for for the whole 10 years really. But I travelled all around Australia.
Okay.
And I did it a couple of times because, like, why not when you're there? So then I worked for a publishing company. So I sold advertising space in high-end publications, which were industry publications. So we were official publishers for the Royal Australian Navy, for the Department of Health, Department of Agriculture. So and it was so, you got to learn so many things. I know all about, Australian agriculture, the Australian defence, but it was really interesting. So, but in that time, I then was doing marketing for CT1, bits and pieces, and then I was getting a little bit of pocket money from CT1 to be, because I was doing it in my spare time.
Okay.
And then it grew and grew, and then every year I'd come home and we'd have a meeting and I'd present what market we're going to do. So we were the first to do billboards, we did bus wraps, we were the first to do that. And then,
I mean, you see you guys, like CT1 now, are everywhere. I mean, I took my son, bought his first car a few weeks ago, and driving back from there, saw the big CT1 billboard just coming back a random place in Birmingham.
Yeah.
But I mean, you're at football games, rugby matches.
We're at all of those things, and but we try to be everywhere we can be, where tradespeople are. But obviously, we can't be everywhere, and those things cost a lot of money as well. It's a huge budget, so I've built up again good relationships with these people as well. So you can do a bit of negotiations as well, and they like working with CT1 as a brand as well. They enjoy working with CT1, and so we're in places where we think tradespeople are going to see us, and it's all about obviously the repetition of a brand. You have to be there, otherwise the competition will come in and swipe it away.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So anyway, I was doing the marketing from there, and we started growing, and then it was kind of like said, well, what's it going to be? Is it going to be a full-time marketing role, or are you going to just keep on doing this kind of pretty much on the sidelines? So I decided I'm going to get my Australian citizenship, and then I'll go home, and that's what I did. And it was probably the best thing I ever did. I have absolutely, it was been.
So you could go back to Australia anytime now?
Anytime.
Right.
Yeah. So, so it was a great honor to get your Australian citizenship, and I was actually awarded that, or given that. How do you say? I don't think I awarded it. Or,
I think it probably is awarded, isn't it?
Yeah, by the Sydney Lord Mayor. So it was, and then I got to keep my Australian passport, so I have a dual passport. And so maybe one day, certainly CTEC Asia Pacific is on the cards.
I was going to say, would you ever be tempted to?
Oh, absolutely, for sure, because it's certainly the right environment, the weather conditions, huge building opportunities in Australia, because they're looking, like, that's why, like, I mean, the huge, the mass area space of Australia, it's actually very little populated. It's very low populated.
It's all around the outside, isn't it?
It is, yeah. And then the outback is obviously it's not populated at all, but even the cities are not overpopulated, and they're actually trying to increase the population, where sometimes you think maybe not, because then it can be too crowded. So yeah, basically one day I would like to see, obviously, CTEC Asia Pacific. That would be.
I can imagine that there'd be no disputing who would be head of marketing if you go over there.
Let me think. Yeah. But certainly, given the fact that I have an Australian citizenship, it would make the transgression quite easy. Wow. But that's way off. I mean, you gotta focus on what's strong and important here. You can't be running around, and then take an eye off the ball. And that's what happens a lot, I think, it can be with companies, it can be with, individual people setting up businesses. If there's too many focus on too many things, you got to have focus on what's key.
See, you say that, but like, so when from the outside in, I look and I see like your social media or CT1 social media, you seem to be everywhere.
Yeah.
Like, the amount of events that you're at, and obviously front and centre, which CT1 need to be.
Yeah.
But you personally seem to be at the front of a lot of this.
Yeah.
How do you manage? How do you cope?
I'm very tired. I'm joking. No, obviously sleep is very important. So like during the week, I like to prioritise things as well. I mean, I think it's really important to be there and meet and thank our end consumer for business. Thank you for business. Thank you for buying our product. Thank you for supporting us. I mean, I think that's just like, you know, without those people buying the products and everybody behind the company, you know, there would be nothing. So I think it's really important to be eternally grateful to people. So I like to go to these events and talk to tradespeople. We also like to go as a company, and that's with all of our sales managers and directors and everybody. We like to find out what's happening. What do they need from a product, or if they have an issue, or if, you know, what can we do always to improve? And there's no point doing endless surveys and being far away. It's talking to the people directly there at the stands. So I think then why we're at these stands as well in these shows is to demonstrate the product and why we deserve a premium price for the product and everything that it can do. So, and with social media, again, I have to point out a lot of that is organic. So when we were on it, you know, obviously we have brand ambassadors from every nation demographic, you know, that we have people representing painting and decorating and, you know, electrical and joiners and general builders and all of that. And a lot of the other activity that you see is just people that just want to be part of the CT1 community, and they like tagging us in, and we're very grateful for that. And we might send them out, you know, a hat or a hoodie, and, you know, it's just
to be honest, I think, like, from my own point of view, that starts at just having a good product that performs, it does what it says it's going to do, and you're happy with it. So, like me, myself, in my business, I've tagged and promoted many brands just purely, there's never any payment involved. It's just like, I've used this today. It's really good. It worked. It did exactly what I wanted it to. You know, all credit to that. Obviously, if some kind of collaboration comes down the line from that, that's great. But it's never for that in the first place. So I think with CT1, that's what you guys have done, which is just having good products that people will promote organically because they believe in that. And it's like me. I mean, I operate on my social media within a little community of, say, painters and decorators that follow me or pay attention to what I'm doing, and I want to pass that good knowledge on to them.
This product works here, or this did well, and that's what's happened a lot. And then we did get, you know, we do have a large contingency, and it kind of just grew because the brand grew. And then, you know, again, you're going to get saying, oh, another CT1 influencer. And it's like, not really, because they've just actually tagged us in, and they just want to be part of the community, and we thank them for that. And then obviously there is people that we, you know, we have a good, like we've a lot of people on the, you know, on the roll as well. But, and they provide an invaluable service to what they're doing, because they're just showcasing the products. They, you know, because obviously we have a big team of, you know, sales managers out in the field, and the work they do is just hats off to them. And then they report into the directors in the hubs, and they do an amazing job of managing all of that as well. So it's a real team effort. But with the social media people, and obviously we do the demonstrations at the trade shows, but like they're able to reach all of these people in 1 2-minute video. On Paragraph and Bond could stick this to that. So the power of that is
how insane is that?
That's it's just mental. Like, and some people say, like, you know, some of our influencers, like, you know, 4 billion people, like, hey, it's crazy how
you can't quantify it, can you?
Like, and I often wonder, like, what are these people doing watching these videos? But no, I think that they're home watching these videos. That's great.
I think it's just the way of the world now, isn't it? There's still people out there that say, oh, there's no point in social media, but there couldn't be more point to me. It's a marketing giant. I mean, you know this.
Yeah, it is a marketing giant. And I think it's definitely, it can be a friendly giant, or it could be a big angry giant. I mean, definitely how you treat people on social media, and you know, you do have to tread very carefully with it as well. I mean, and certainly don't want to be in, you know, too many faces. But a lot of brands are doing what we're doing now as well, and they are constantly on it. And then sometimes you like to take a bit of a breather because you don't want to be cluttered. So it's a fine line, and we're always learning things as we go along. We're always kind of learning.
How do you find the pressure of, because to me, you guys are kind of, you're at the front of the queue, like the way that you've got hold of the like influencer marketing, the way that you guys have got your community, but obviously it's worked. So naturally people are going to try and follow your model. How do you cope with the pressure of like trying to stay at the top?
Well, look, it's no secret. Yes, I think that in terms of pressure of CT1 as a brand, and I'm talking about everybody collectively and specifically for the two CEOs, it's extremely difficult because we have been under constant attack, and we don't attack anybody. We defend ourselves for sure. We defend a brand that has grown over 20 years through a lot of sacrifice. Obviously, my parents started it, massive sacrifice at a young age, built it, built the system, built the schools, built the training, built everything, and then sourced the directors, which are still there, the best capable people. And obviously there's loads of ups and downs, and you come together as a family unit. And then to be constantly then under attack, and the stress it has created for us, and I can openly talk about this stress as created within, the community, the brand, and within the family household, because obviously my parents are the two CEOs and my brother-in-law is the director of operations and logistics. So we talk about it a lot, and you can imagine the stress that the family have been under, as in the immediate family. And then we talk about the greater families in CT1, because then the directors have felt it and the sales reps have felt it because they're out defending. So then the leadership has to come from the top. What do we do here? And when people jump in and say that they are you, and that we've had stories that we've been rebranded. There is a rogue brand out there that have blatantly gone out and said that they are us, and that we've rebranded.
Are you?
They've actually said that they are us. We've had calls into our office to say that we've gone bust and we've been rebranded.
So they've started a brand and they've said that they're part of the CT1.
That they are, that they are actually, and that it's been rebranded.
Wow.
So there's been a huge 5-year battle and there's been massive amount of stress. And I think the resilience and the mindset of my parents, and that they've filtered down into, and obviously the mindset of the company, we've been extremely positive. We've never backlashed yes, we defended our brand. We would never think about doing this to another brand. We would never say we are somebody and blatantly lie and do really dirty tactics and copy everything that we're doing. It can be really soul destroying. I know that certainly when my parents, my mom and dad, have looked at things and completely copied, and they've said that they are us, that you're stealing somebody's identity. And you can imagine how frustrating that is, and how soul destroying it can be when you've worked so hard to build up something. So with something like CT1, it's like snakes and ladders. So when we started the brand, when my parents and everybody in CT1, helped the brand, you go up a ladder, you might take a fall, you go down, and then you go up a level, and then you could take another knock and you could lose some customers and you go down, and then you go up and up and up, and then it's all going up like that. Whereas then a rogue brand that would come in and they've jumped to the top on somebody else's coattails, it's extremely frustrating, and it's not, as Jimmy would say, not cricket. I never understood really what that meant. So the stress that caused, then you have the financial stress of it, because as a family-run business, we're not a huge conglomerate and we don't have billions of pounds. Some people might think we do, we don't. That we've had to defend our brand, and that come at a big cost. Legal fees are not cheap, and that had to come from somewhere.
Yeah.
And obviously we've, battled out in the field, and we've lost some customers, but we've gained other ones. And it's really frustrating when we've had customers go in and ring us up and say, I've heard you've rebranded, I've heard it's the same but cheaper, and it's exactly the same, and all of these things. And then we've had a number of other sealant manufacturers do the same as well. We're the same as them, but it's cheaper. So you're constantly defending yourself, and it can be extremely stressful. So then what we do is we think of, obviously, different strategies, how to do that. And we have new products development, and then you'll have somebody coming in with the same kind of product, a different name. That's fine. But then they copy a lot of the same marketing strategies. We were the first to social media, trade shows, football, back. And it's like, seriously, dudes. And that can be extremely stressful. That can be, you're constantly thinking about how to stay ahead of the game. And then, it does become bitter massively, because then obviously there's, legal, court cases. Court cases can be extremely stressful. So as a family run business, and to live, breathe that and be in that. So it's not like we can clock off at 5 o'clock and go home. That's somebody else's problem.
Yeah.
We live it, breathe it
Yeah.
every day. And that's caused a massive amount of stress in my parents.
That's it. That pressure stays within your family, doesn't it?
You live, breathe, you wake it, because, you know, if you didn't defend your brand like that and we just, you know, said, oh, look, sure, it is what it is. But we're like, we will not accept being bullied like that, or we won't accept being trash talked that we're this and we're that. So we've had to, like, it is, yeah, it's a battle, and who wants a battle? And I think that, you know, the resilience, as I said, and the positivity and the mindset, certainly if they didn't have good mental health and if they didn't self-care, that could have really spiraled. That could have been,
Let's touch on that. I mean, you've said self-care, so what? Like, I mean, I know what you mean by it, but what do you mean by self-care?
You know, so simple things like my mum and dad have always been very resilient, and they're like a team. So I think if one was down, I pick the other one up. So that's always helpful as well. Again, not being isolated, have somebody to talk to. They talk a lot, right? But also things like they go for the walk every morning.
Okay.
Every morning, without fail, go for a walk. Religiously. Always like things like Sunday dinners. Try not to talk about it, but as a family unit. We'd always then, you know, as a family unit as well, like go away for weekends away and try and really enjoy that time together.
Do you still do the Sunday dinners as a family?
Well, not as much now, but yes, we do actually, but I never can get up because I, you know, sometimes I'm not even there. But yes, they still do that. And now there's, you know, my nieces and nephews and that's out there. And like in June, we'll have a family holiday together. So that's really important. So in the midst of all of that, you know, and it's, you know, to Spain, it's not like we're going to, you know, St. Lucia or something. Like, it's just like, you know, it's Nicola, a bit of sun, a bit time together.
Even if you were, like you guys, if you work hard, there should be rewards to that.
Yes, I know.
I know there are a lot of people out there that do begrudge people of these things, but I personally don't. Like, I love to see it because it's inspiring.
Yeah.
So I always look at that, and if somebody's doing well and they can afford to treat themselves and that's their self-care, like, you can see the holiday to St. Lucia, but you might not see the 100-hour weeks they're putting in to get there.
Yeah.
So I'm all for it, honestly.
Yeah. See, whereas I get what you're saying, and then often, you know, I try not to. I wouldn't really talk about my personal life in that sense. What I do, I mean, I'm in a bit of a different position because, like, I don't have children or, you know, and all of that. So I'm able to, my income is for me, thank God. But
I've said this often. If I didn't have kids, I'd be a rich man.
Yeah. But you know, like, but what I'm saying is that I'm really aware that a lot of people out there are massively struggling. So I don't like to say, oh, I'm, you know, that there's a lot of people out there struggling, and this is where social media comes into things as well. You got to be careful of what because there's people out there that would perceive and look at, if you are constantly saying how fabulous life is, and life is good, but that can be good from getting, I had, you know, good crack with the Uber driver on the way down and we had a good laugh. That's good.
Yeah.
But you know, that I think that you have, there's a fine line with people. I get that want to share experience and so on. But I think that a lot of people out there can be really struggling. They can look at something and go, because sometimes all that's not true.
No.
A lot of it is like,
honestly, to be honest, I had a great example of this last year. So last year we went on a family holiday, lovely family holiday to Cyprus. We went to nice hotel, lovely. It was all great. We went for a week. So me, my wife, my kids went for this lovely family holiday, which from the outside in social media would have looked amazing. The day we got there, I found out that my dog was dying, basically. So I had a phone call with the dog sitter, found out that it ruined the holiday for me. That was it. Because I mean, I'd had 16 years, you know what I mean? Like, she was my dog, all the rest of it.
And he's a man's best friend.
I was absolutely heartbroken.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like a family member.
But the pictures on social media would have shown,
looked like, this is my thing, that you know, and that's just, you know, and even things like, you know, with beauty and women that publicize themselves, I suppose it's different, you know, this very filtered, you know, I feel under pressure. I'm like, why does she do this? But you know, like, you're like, but there's the pressure on with like, it's you gotta take everything with a pinch of salt, and you know,
I think people should just be more kind. It's as simple as that.
I think so. Yeah.
If somebody has worked hard for however long it might be to pay for that holiday, and they're somewhere lovely and they want to show it off, you don't know what's going on in their head.
No, you definitely don't. And but yeah, well, going back then, obviously, to how they've come through, well, we're still living, breathing it, is that, the small things like, go for your walk every morning, and eating good, there's family dinners, and, very limited, even though I'm going to say very limited, alcohol consumption, even though when people see CT1, it's like one big party. But, it's all about swings and roundabouts, and that kind of stuff. So it's really about self-care. And again, I think then with my parents, I think as well, how they got through it, they talk all the time. Communication.
Massive.
So it's so huge. So when you're saying about the talking tradesman, it's the truest thing. A problem shared is a problem halved.
Yeah.
It's absolutely, I think that, because I think it's key.
It is.
Getting things off your chest and talking about it, because you might have a problem, and then it might seem absolutely monumental, and you built it into this huge elephant, like, oh my God. And actually, in 5 months' time, that problem is actually not even a problem. And then you look at it and go, what was I worrying about?
Do you know what it is, Nicola? It's the longer you hold it, the longer you bottle it, the heavier it gets.
Yeah.
There was a great analogy that I've heard, I have shared before, but I'll share it with you. Okay. It was a pint of water. And the analogy was, so this was like the weight of an emotion, as it were. So if something bad happens in a day, you bottle it up, you don't tell anyone. It's the equivalent of a pint of water. So if I would say to you, can you hold this pint of water? You'd be like, yeah, no problem. And if I asked you to hold it out in your arm, you're like, yeah, okay, it's fine. So, okay, could you hold it for 10 minutes? Probably. My arm might ache a bit. Could you hold it for half an hour? No, it's getting heavier.
Yeah.
Could you hold it for an hour? Your arm's probably going to get to the point it's that tired, you need to put that down.
Yeah.
Well, the analogy is that is like the weight of an emotion. It starts off small and it's easy to hold. But if you don't ever put it down, it gets to the point where you can't hold it anymore. So with that pint of water, if you put it down for a bit, the equivalent of talking about it, you can then pick it up again. Yeah. It's small.
It's small, yeah. I definitely think that. I mean, and and for me, what I do is, like, I'm very blessed that I have, a huge circle of friends, and the girls are what now? And great family members, and and I do a lot of meditation as well. So, well, somebody is mad, and I really, like the whole meditation. I'm going to meditation retreat soon, but to do it every day and to change your mindset. So, like, things can spiral very quickly.
You meditate daily?
I try to, and I find when I don't, then that's when shit hits the fan.
Okay.
Because you react differently, your responses are different, you're a bit more stressed, and the role that I'm in, it is very fast paced, because there's a lot of traveling, and then there's a lot of like socializing, and then there's a lot of meetings, and it's all around the UK, so you're constantly on the go, and then you want to keep up with your fitness, so there's a lot. So I think that if you take that 10 minutes a day, and it can completely change your mood. I would try and do it in the mornings, but with anything, it's like a discipline, and sometimes I stop. And when things are really, really good, I stop, and then things are like, because your reactions to things are differently. And I like it. I like all of that, and I just find it really interesting.
How did you find it? How did meditation first start?
It was actually a friend of mine in Australia. Australia's, really far. They're really into healthy living. Everybody's into like fitness, and you'll see all these fit people. Oh God, I better get on. They're really into like healthy living. Obviously not all Australians. And there was a huge wave, and it's like Vedic meditation, and they did that in Sydney. And then a woman that I worked with, she introduced it, and I was like, oh, I loved it. What's that going to do? I was like, oh, I kind of like that. And I just find myself, like, nothing magical happened, but I did find, a bit calmer and all of that. And then I did different ones, and a big shout out to Sarita. I always promote Sarita and Soulhenge, and that's a meditation retreat in France. And it's just the most amazing place. I love it. And it's kind of a digital detox as well. You don't use your phone. It's all like, and you do kind of meditation every day. And I absolutely love it. It's my thing. I really enjoy it.
That's cool.
And you come out kind of like bulletproof, and it's really, really good. And it's
How long
my
is
thing.
that for? How long do you go for?
About 4 or 5 days.
So 4 or 5 days, complete digital detox.
Like you are, like, it's not, you can use it, but it's better off not to, because you're, and I just really like it. And I think there's a big movement happening, because I think it's in Japan, or in maybe Japan and Thailand. that they are getting children out to meditate in school as part of their curriculum.
Really?
They see such a value in it because it's obviously an ancient Indian practice. It come from India, but also the Japanese practiced it in a different kind of form, and they do see the benefit of it. I mean, it's not for everybody, but everybody has their own thing. And, you know, I would pray a lot as well. I pray. I have my faith. I'd be quite, you know, I don't go to mass every Sunday and all that, but I would be like, usually I'd be like, oh gosh, get me out of this. Please help me. But yeah, I would have like, if there's something happening, I do go into church and light a candle, please. So I do have my faith behind me as well. I pray.
I said this to you before recording, because you were talking about the whole mental health thing and how connected you were with it. But what I said to you was that just talking to you, I can tell you've got your coping mechanisms. Like, you know, like you've got your meditation, you've got your retreats. And I would imagine you can probably feel internally when you get into that point of like, actually, I'm struggling with tiredness, burnout.
Yeah, you gotta, because and that's a big thing as well. Like, people will, you know, be off with exhaustion, and then they can't work for ages, and then they're all down, and they're all, you know, sad and everything. And yeah, you gotta take time out. And then I would, you know, physical fitness for me, like, is a big thing. I'd like to be a lot fitter than I am, and again, that's dedication as well. But going to the gym, I love going to the gym in the morning, and people on my tails was laughing, and he goes, "Well, it's not the gym I go to." But like, there's a spin class like on some mornings, and you go in, and it's honestly like a rave. We were playing rave music. And I mean, this is at 6 o'clock in the morning, and you're spinning around, and you're having the crack with the girls in the gym, you know. And the laugh we're all having, and we're basically just taking the piss out of each other, but you are working out. And the comradeship, I'm saying a lot of words I can't pronounce today, camaraderie, and there's a community in the gym, and the laugh you have. So whatever mood you go into, and you go into the gym at 6 o'clock in the morning, it's ultimately, it's lifted straight away. Completely on a different level.
Like, you're giving out, probably without even realising, you're giving out loads of tips. So like, you live a really fast-paced life. Yeah. Like, you've got a lot of responsibility behind you. You've got a high up position in a big company, but you're giving out the tips of how you cope with that, which is exactly what this podcast is about.
Oh, very good. Oh, there you go. I did not know I'm wise. No, but that's and that's just from, you know, I kind of like, you go with your gut as well and your intuition, and you know, you want to do things. You know, we do things that you like to do, like feeling good and looking good, no matter what way. Like, if you feel, you know, you have to take care of, you've got like one vessel, and you should honor it as much. And they're saying that sometimes I don't honor it too much at the weekends, but you know, like, you gotta honor what God has given you as well, because there's a lot of people out there as well that would love to be in a physical good state. And when you see somebody that's really struggling to move, you think, oh my God, thank God I can do that. So you want to kind of maintain that level of fitness, and, as you say, mental stability, that you don't get things spiraled. And look, I can be guilty of that. I've let things spiraled, and I have, as I said, a good community. I've surrounded myself with good people, and you know, and I think one of the key things in life is laughter.
Yeah, 100%.
Laughter is the medicine. Honestly, if I'm ever down or in a, you know, you get like that, I'll put on a funny film to lift your spirit. Yeah. Put on something really, like, sometimes I'll go home and I'll watch something. I've seen it all a million times. Friends. I know what's going to happen, but it makes me laugh. Yeah. And another thing that I do as well is, I know this is awful. It's probably think, oh, she's living in a bubble. I don't watch the news.
That's massive.
I don't watch the news.
Yeah, it's all doom and gloom, isn't it?
Oh God, I can't believe this is happening. And I know that's probably like, but that's self-care. Yeah. Me knowing that somebody got murdered and butchered somewhat thousands of miles away, I'm like, oh my God, did you think about that all day? And then you start feeling really sad, and then you're like, yeah. So the more, and they do say, like, you know, bad news spreads bad news. Yeah. And the more you talk about something depressing, you're going to depress somebody else and they're going to make it really sad. And they're going to think it's a sad story. And then everybody is so sad.
You're so spot on with the news, though. The thing is with the news, you never turn it on and they talk about anything positive.
No.
It's, this great thing has happened. I mean, over the course of the world, on any 24 hours, there's going to be some amazing, incredible things happen and there's going to be some terrible things.
Yeah.
And they always focus on the terrible stuff.
Yeah.
So, like you said, that's just self-care. It's exposing yourself. And the other thing is, we're not designed for it.
No,
we're not designed like... So, hunter-gatherer style, we're a tribal creature. Hunter-gatherer origins 100 years ago, you would never have known what was happening in France. You wouldn't have known. Or if you did, it would be in a newspaper. But it would be in a newspaper 2 weeks later.
Yeah, that's exactly.
Now we have instant access to the whole world.
For the world, yeah. Which, look, it's a good thing as well, because if there was something that, like they were talking about something on Twitter, it got on Twitter before the news, and there's something that happened, I can't remember what it was. And it could be a good thing as well. But bad news sells.
Yep.
Bad news sells. So there is, and then people go, the world's a terrible place and it's just awful. But that's because you're only hearing about the awful things.
Exactly.
There are so many good things out there, and there's so many good people that do good every day. And there's so many heartfelt, warming stories that you think, oh my God, isn't that amazing that happened? Or successful stories that somebody, I don't know, invented something and they were living on a street and now they're like, oh my God, isn't that amazing that they did that? But unfortunately, bad news sells.
It does. Yeah, absolutely. And that's kind of, it's down to us, isn't it? Because we're the consumer.
Well, this is it.
We consume the bad news.
Yeah, and I know, and look, at people sometimes go like, oh, you did not know that happened. No, and it didn't really affect my day. Thank God.
Exactly.
How was that no one gonna, how was I gonna, now, obviously, and that is a bit of self-care as well, but obviously you can't be, we as a company, like my parents would say, oh, look, you gotta, get a grip and know what's happening. But I'm like, no, I'm perfectly fine not knowing that happened. And when you do hear something depressing or something sad or something that just really you keep thinking about it, go, oh my God, that poor. For instance, I read a book years ago and it was based on a true story. And it was, about a child. I think it was like The Boy Called It, and I read the series. That played in my mind I was like, that poor child. Like, really, obviously didn't, I'm not being dramatic, really affected me or anything like that. But I thought about that a lot. And it was, it conjured up all these really sad emotions.
I think that shows, though, that you know yourself.
Yeah.
So you know yourself enough to realise what you should and shouldn't expose yourself to.
Yeah, because it just plays on your mind a lot.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of people would. Or then some people, because they're so used to hearing bad news, because they watch news all the time, that it's not really as bad as the stuff that I heard yesterday. So, yeah.
Do you know what? For me, the turning point, because I used to watch the news, in fact, if I think back maybe 5 years, I used to wake up in the morning, go downstairs, make a cup of tea, feed the animals, and then I'd get my phone out and I'd look at BBC News, which I stopped doing that.
I used to do that, yeah.
COVID stopped it entirely because I got that sick of watching the news
about
throughout
COVID,
the whole lockdown and this many people have passed away and all that.
Oh, the death toll
killed it for me.
507. Oh my God, it was like, stop.
Yeah.
That's actually pretty much, now I reflect, that's pretty much the same time I stopped as well, because I was just like, oh. And I was the same, because you want to be informed and you want to be, what's happening. But do I really? Yeah, I'm sure that me knowing it is not going to stop it. I just, it's just a me thing. And I'm just kind of, maybe I am happier in my little bubble and I like it.
But there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
That's the thing. There's nothing wrong with being in that little bubble and self-preservation. You can't, it's that God complex, isn't it? You can't save the world.
But you can do your bit. I mean, we're very compassionate as a company, extremely compassionate. And I get I have to say, a guilty pleasure out of it. I love helping people as well. I not telling people I've helped them, but I love, seeing somebody smile or helping somebody. Just it makes you feel really good.
100%.
Why not do that? So we do, CT1, as a company, have done so much massively behind the scenes and radar. I'm not even going to go into it as a company, but that's why I believe as well. And we do that, anybody in our company, we've the same kind of culture and ethos. I truly believe that's one of the reasons we're successful. I really believe that. Yeah, sure, the product is good and it works and it sticks things, but that will only get you. I think that we are a company of massive good deeds and we give a lot back, and it's not for our own, look at us, we're deadly. We're great. Because there was a comment and it bugged me, and I seen one comment on all the work that we do, it was about the tool theft and saying, oh, CT1 is there again. But we actually care about the tradespeople. We've actually helped a lot of tradespeople that have lost tools that nobody knows about. We've had, personal friends that have had the same. So we absolutely get it. And we know we know what theft is like because we have things stolen on us. So we've obviously helped monetary, but massively behind the scenes, because we get the frustration of a sole trader or a tradesperson that has gone through turmoil to lose something, lose their livelihood. We totally get it because it almost happened to us. And we get that. And you get massive empathy and just, these poor people that have had their livelihoods. It is really absolutely. And again, that's a massive, part of, I suppose, causing people mental health. How could it not? You're after losing your livelihood. You're hardly going to skip down the street.
Do you know what though, Nicola? Absolutely terrible for the people that have been a victim of it. Utterly horrific. But it's passed on to everyone in the trades now. Because I think of myself, so I've got a van and a car. And I think to myself, if I'm going to go on a particular journey, well, hold on, where have I got to park? I can't take the van. I don't want the risk of coming back to, and it's not even like I tend to make sure. And another thing, I wouldn't leave any of my equipment of value. So like the dustless sanding systems, sprayers, things like that are worth thousands. Don't leave any of it on the van now.
Where are you going to take them? In the house?
In the garage, generally, locked up in the secure storage.
And the addresses.
With cameras. But yeah, I never leave anything on the van. And do you know what?
Why should you do that?
Some days it's a ball ache. You get home, it's wet, it's cold, it's raining. Yeah. And I get back and I think, I can't leave the stuff in the van.
You're then like, will I take that risk and then wake up in the morning? I just absolutely.
You talk about trade shows. So the last trade show that I went to, I had to empty my van out entirely because I couldn't take the car. So I had to empty the van entirely. And that's just another job where I'm like, I shouldn't have to do this.
No, you shouldn't. And then, it's just, would you believe as well, I actually have somebody at home doing some stuff for me. Shout out to Bowman Joinery, actually. And we had a conversation yesterday because he was up doing something in my house. And he was saying that his brother-in-law, I want to get this right, or somebody, brother-in-law, basically went out on his own and set up his own business. It was like a telecommunication business or whatever, and remortgaged his house, right? Went and bought a digger, went and bought all these new tools, got all his new contracts, and somebody went, I was like, how did they even do this? Stole the digger, stole all the tools, and now he's left with a remortgaged house and no way of doing it. I'm like, wow. I don't understand people that would have done that actually believe that they're going to get luck from that money, or that something terrible is not going to come back at them. Because whatever whatever crap that you put out in life, be sure you're going to get it back. There's sometimes, obviously, I get it. Some bad things happen to good people all the time. And that is just really unfortunate that we're in the wrong, that's just whatever. But the people that do that, I mean, you honestly think that you're going to live this magical life and I've profited from all these. Something is going to happen. I don't understand that people that don't understand that. And how they could not have any empathy knowing that poor sod in the morning is going to get up and see everything is stolen. How could you do that?
The consequences are so severe. I had a phone call yesterday with somebody and they're coming on the podcast in a few weeks' time. So I won't go too much into their story because they're going to tell it themselves. But the long and short of it is they were a victim of tool theft, and it drove them to the point where they stood on top of a car park and very nearly took their own life because they had lost what they saw. They'd lost everything. They'd lost all the tools. They'd lost their purpose in life to provide and provide for the family. They couldn't do it anymore. They'd had to cancel jobs and they saw no way back. They didn't have the finances to, because a lot of us, I mean, with my tool set and the value that I've got there, I didn't go and buy it all at once.
Of course.
It was, a little bit of profit on that job, a little bit of profit on this job.
Because they're expensive.
Exactly.
And that's why, we massively got involved, and obviously a big shout out to Schwab, the gas expert, who started off the trade, and the trades coming together and actually helping to fight this and closing down these car boot sales and all of that. And the work he's done is just unbelievable. And I think it's really brought shone a light on the community of the construction community, because the general public out there, and obviously we're all general public and consumers, might not have had the same empathy or understood the plight of a tradesperson. That if they get their tools stolen, they can no longer work, and if they can't work, they can't provide. So it's not like you've just had, your wallet stolen or something else. This is like, it's so much more to that, because all of these tools have been collected over years. Some of them maybe have even sentimental value.
Yeah, definitely.
And they've been around a long time. This is, and then obviously, not here to, call out insurance companies. Then they have to go and get serial numbers and receipts. And who has that from 10 years ago? So we got involved with Selected DNA, and massive plug out to them. Obviously, I suppose like with everything, it's prevention, but that's hindsight's a great thing, So this technology has come out that you can label your tools and hopefully try and prevent that. So hopefully there's shining a big light on that plight, because then again, people on our tails. He was saying as well that when you go in to do a domestic job, sometimes the house owner won't let you park in their driveway. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I was like, but sure, you're doing the work on their house. How is that? But they wouldn't. So they have to park down the road. So maybe these kind of podcasts and events, tool theft marking events, and the message out there will speak to these homeowners and say, will you please let the tradespeople park in your driveway to do the work in your house?
Yeah,
that's only logic to me, but I don't understand that. But there you go. But having the poor guys down the road, and then also carrying the big things up the road in the lashing rain.
And not only that, you're then sat in the house doing the job with that anxiety in the back of your head, going,
exactly. Am I going to be?
Is my van okay? What's that noise? And all that shit that we shouldn't even have to worry about. We're just there to do a job.
Yeah. So I just So hopefully it's Hopefully it's put the fear of God into these people, that now that people are really onto them. I really hope so. And because it's so unfair, it's so cruel to do that, not just to tradespeople as well, but anybody breaking in anywhere. I mean, and then there's been some of these mugshots of people, because then sometimes I'm like, maybe, these people that steal not just tools, because obviously you have to have another van to put it in. So that's very organized, like shoplifting. Maybe, oh God, they were hungry and needed it, because there's that part of it as well. What drove them to do that? I do think with tool theft, obviously it's a bit more organized. They're not going to just walk out with a hammer or a saw or, a tool. I'm trying to think of a tool. But yeah, it's a lot more organized. So it's planned. So there's a lot more motive, and, it's just, it's incredibly cruel to do that.
What you said is right. It's stopping the sales. It's stopping the because those tools are all going somewhere. They have a value. That's why they're stolen. And it's stopping those things like the car boots and wherever they're getting distributed, like however they are then being monetized for the criminals.
Yeah.
That's what's got to stop.
That's what's got to stop. And then I suppose then, you got to look at the integrity of the tradesperson buying that tool knowing it's stolen.
Yeah.
This is your fellow.
100%.
This is your tribe that you're doing that to.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, it's all very good. Like, I certainly don't want to, it's good to pass judgment. Nobody knows anybody's backstory to anything either. They could have been in a really, I don't know, people don't know, but, try and do right as best you can to your fellow human, whether it be in construction or not, is always key to try and do the best you can every day and be nice.
100%.
Yeah,
absolutely. It's one of those things. I had this conversation, funnily enough, last week. I went down to London myself and I did my first ever public talk in an environment that was not construction related. So it was one of the former guests of the podcast, Steve from Uncle Matt's Hats, invited me down. So I went. He had held an event called Uncle Matt's Chats, all around mental health.
Okay.
And I stood there and I spoke about the podcast and why I was doing it and the crisis in construction. And overwhelmingly, the audience just didn't know. So the response I got, it's funny how people in the trades, we seem to be a little bit invisible to people that aren't in the trades.
Yeah,
And when I highlighted it to them and at the audience in front of me, and I said, look, the way I'll put it to you is this. At the moment, there are enough people to satisfy the needs in construction that need to be. But down the line, with the way that people in the trades are reducing, either through retirement or people leaving the trades due to things like mental health or having their tools stolen, you imagine when you call a plumber because you got water pouring through your ceiling at 3 a.m. because a pipe's burst, and the response you get is, yeah, no worries, I'll be there in about 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Because they're that busy and there's that few.
Yeah.
You know, and you've only got to look around you in society, look around you and tell me that you're in a space that hasn't been designed, built, or installed by a tradesperson.
Well, this is exactly it. Yeah.
So
it's funny. Yeah. Yeah.
why are we not protecting and supporting that?
I don't know. I mean, that I did think about that as well, especially when Pete said that people wouldn't allow, and I was like, what? I couldn't get the logic behind it, and I was like, why would you not? And do tradespeople have this kind of old stereotype? Because then there was another thing as well. Shout out to Mark Tiff as well. He put up a thing on Instagram there the other day that. Obviously, it was the general public, and somebody said something about tradespeople. Well, they're nothing but a bunch of cowboys.
Yeah.
So you're just generalizing one bad incident. Yeah. So again, you know, this is a big thing that I have to say. Be careful what you say. And that's a thing that I always try and make, you know, always try and say something kind and nice. And if you've nothing to say, don't say it. I mean, there's many things I could say about people and I don't, and I keep that. And sometimes I find just writing it down and then throwing it away, because be careful of what you say, because gossip is a terrible thing. And when you start saying a bad thing, it can catch on. So you can say when somebody says, say, for instance, Joe is a plumber. Joe, the plumber, is all right. And then somebody else says it and somebody else says it. That's just not on to do that. So I think then also that has happened with tradespeople, the cowboy kind of image. Oh, he's nothing but a cowboy. Because one or two people might have done a bad job that no, oh yeah. So it's that then, that's a really old stereotype image. But I think that obviously some of the general public must see that.
Absolutely.
And carry that through.
Absolutely. And I think, you know, you touched on it earlier, though, that negative news travels a lot easier than the positive. Because how many people go and talk in their social circles and go, oh, I had, you know, Mark the plumber out and he did an amazing job fixing that pipe. They don't say
was that
it,
Mark
do they?
Tiff, was it?
It was definitely Mark Tiff. So, yeah, Mark Tiff fixed that pipe perfectly. And
I allowed him to park on my driveway.
But people don't talk about the positives. That's
no,
the thing.
People, do you know what? And this is like, just, you know, some people like to complain and some people love to have a good old bitch and a good old, and they love getting in and, oh, she said this and he said that, and just that sometimes can be human nature. And I try and stay away from that. I think that there's very few people that I would have, you would hear me talk ill will of. They'd have to do something really bad.
Doesn't bring any positivity to anything.
No, I mean, there's plenty. Obviously, people are going to piss you off, and then you try and think about, okay, why did that person do that? There must be a reason. It's a reflection of them. Why did, you know, you try not, and obviously you could rant and rage all day about people and what they've done. But then that's where the meditation and a bit of like, okay, a bit of clarity and understand. Everybody's kind of going through a journey in life, I guess. And not everybody's going to react the way you want them to react. And then it's your reaction to that can spiral. But that's all about discipline. And that's all about being, you know, that's all well and good to say. We all blow a fuse and we all get into a row. And then I hit him, she, but then you try and go, okay, so try and get a bit of clarity. And why did they behave that way? They've obviously behaved that way for a reason. You don't know what's gone on that day. But that's all well and good to say that. But when you're in the thick of it.
You're quite philosophical, really, aren't you? Underneath it. You're coming out with all these little gems, to be fair.
Yeah. Look at me. No, but that's, I don't know. That, again, I think that's a lot from meditation. And that's from a lot of that kind of stuff. And we can really get bogged down in that kind of, that circle. And I think then a lot of people that say maybe involved in maybe some of that and really get involved. And when you hear negativity and people saying life is, and then when you surround yourself with that and you get sucked into that, and then it starts really dragging you down. So yeah, you try and, you know, like, so try and look at you every day. As I said, it's not going to be in utopia, but try and think of one positive thing a day and your day could change immediately.
You'll be careful with the energy you put out. I mean, you talked about that earlier. And that's it. You become what you surround yourself with. So if you're putting out negativity, toxicity, all that kind of stuff, then you become it. It swallows you up.
Well, this is it. I mean, and then you get the thing like, there was a film made about it, Mean Girls. They all hung around and all bitching about and this, that, and the other, and that's what happens. But men can do it too.
Oh, gotcha.
It's human nature. I mean, and that's what, look, we've all been guilty of it, going and you haven't, but you just try and be careful of what you say can come about.
Yeah.
So the more you say something, it can actually come about. So, try and I think that if you try and think of what you say, that's easier said than done. You'd be giving out. But if you try and, take a breath and just say it good. We've all been there. People are going to be looking at this podcast going, oh, she's not practicing what she's reading. Oh, anyway, listen, I'm an angel. People are like, is she for real?
do as I say, not as I do. It's one of those.
No, I genuinely do that. And that's why I'm very blessed to have a good circle of friends and family, and people I work with are amazing. But I'd say that putting out energy, I'm quite energetic, but in the office, I can be, would I say highly strong? No, I would like to say enthusiastic. And then say for some comfort. So me and Rachel, our social media manager, hi to Rachel out there, but she works with me, and the girl before her, Winnie, was a lot more quieter. And then I'd come in the office and I'd work. I'd be like, oh my God, I can't believe this happened. I'd be like, oh my God. But I've had to learn to go, as Ross in Friends would go. So because
Indoor
that
voice.
kind of like not excitement, but like if I'm panicky, it can spread to kind of panic.
Yeah.
But I would get excitable about things. That's what I'm very, I'd like to put the spin on it. I'm passionate. But yeah, if things go wrong, I'd be like, oh my God, but you have to take a breath. And that is really practice. Like, I've had to.
But you're aware of it. That's the thing.
Well aware of it. Yeah.
Fair play.
Yeah. But I've had to, rein it in a bit. I can be very excitable, which it can be a good thing.
Absolutely. It can lift the energy at the same time, if delivered in the right way.
If you live it in the right way, yes. So if you're going and running around, yeah. So I've had to, and again, that's all you're kind of like, and listening as well. If people give you feedback, sometimes it's hard to hear criticism. Who wants to hear that? Yeah, again, you gotta take it on the chin, put on your big girl pants, suck it up and go, right, reset, gonna start again. There's no point, getting in a huff and storming away and running away and all that kind of stuff. Gotta deal with it, and then deal with it. It's the tools that are given to you.
100%. And the thing is, you can build your tool set in the same way you can buy tools. You can build your mental tool set.
Yeah.
And that's it, and add into things. And I look back at myself and the way that I dealt with life and cope with life 10 years ago, completely polar opposite of now.
Yeah.
But I didn't have the tools that I do now.
How did you deal with things back then?
I was a lot less tolerant of people. Let's just say that.
And you seem so, you're like the Dalai Lama sitting there.
No. I was a lot less. Calm. To be fair, Nicola, I was a lot less tolerant of people. I was a lot more aggressive, a lot quicker to anger.
Yeah.
Very little tolerance for idiots, essentially.
Yeah.
Whereas now, like you touched on earlier, I'll look at somebody's behaviour and kind of think, I wonder what made them do that. I wonder what happened to them today. Whereas previously, I'd have just reacted to that exact situation as it was.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've learned. I've gone through a whole journey of learning a lot over the last 10 years. A lot of self-development, a lot about myself, and generally, it's improved my life immeasurably.
Yeah.
There's still stresses in life. I still get stressed. I don't think you can stop your reactions to things, but you can build that tool set in order to react differently.
Yeah.
So the same emotions still come up. But
of course, you're not a robot.
Exactly.
You're not,
But I've got that little moment now where I can readdress things.
Yeah.
I've got more than one reaction sort of path to take, as it were.
But it's easier said than done. I think that's all, with discipline as well. And I think
that's the first time I've been compared to the Dalai Lama as well. So I appreciate that one.
You're welcome. But you seem so calm. And look, like with everything, it's like a discipline, like trying to go to the gym every day. Like I think that, self-development is an everyday. Like, say, for instance, I'm after learning a few things there today. Every day is a learning day. And I think that every day you can improve. If it's a small thing, you can always improve. And people say, oh, people can't change. Yeah, you can change. If you want to change, 100%. You can change. Everybody can change. I've certainly changed. I haven't changed dramatically. I'm probably still as annoying to some people as I was 20 years ago. But certainly, yeah, how I've dealt with things. Does that come with maturity? And then obviously life experiences, probably yes. And again, your mindset. I think that I've always been a very positive person, thank God. But I don't know if you're born like that or do you make yourself with that? I don't know. Some people are born very...
I think you train it. I genuinely do, because I've experienced both sides of the coin on that.
Yeah.
So, like, Ange would tell you, if you spoke to her, when she met me, I was so negative. I had a negative disposition in terms of...
Oh, right, okay.
I believed that nothing would work out for me, right? So I would, if something good happened, it would be like, yeah, that's good, but this will probably go wrong.
Okay, there's a lot of people like that that would just expect the worst, because sometimes the worst has happened.
But do you know, with me, it goes back to my childhood. So I was kind of raised that way. I was brought up by my father, and he was that way. And he would say stuff to me when I was a kid like, oh, you know, nothing ever works out for us. He would project that onto me within his, you know, and he would talk about like our surname. Oh, we're unlucky. Nothing ever goes right for us. Surname? Payne, Payne, Pain.
Oh, right. Okay,
So he would be like, you know, the Paynes were unlucky. That nothing ever goes right
that's
for us.
That's a real,
blah, blah, blah.
That's a real old-fashioned way. That would have been very much,
But I took that on.
Of course, so, if you're going to hear that enough.
Yeah. And I would be the same, like, you know, so early days when I met my wife, we'd talk about various things. I'd be like, oh, well, you know, I've got this coming up, but something could probably fall through. It'll probably, you know, probably won't happen if it's something good. And she'd sort of look at me and go, why are you saying that? Like, well, it probably just will go that way, but you attract it.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not that way at all now. I've completely
reprogrammed yourself.
Completely flipped it on its head.
Yeah.
And I think just in life generally, if you go through life, it will be full of open and closed doors. And if you only ever pay attention to closed doors, that's all you'll ever see. So if you only ever see the opportunities that are missed, the opportunities that aren't going to come your way, you will only ever see that. If you walk through life with your head up looking for open doors, they're everywhere.
They're everywhere. And certainly, look, we can all be guilty. Like, I think then there's a bit of the fear factor, you know, when something's so good, you're like, oh God, I hope that doesn't happen.
Oh, of course.
Or, there's that, like, you know, when things are so good, you're just like, you know, it's that feeling of, you know, when things are great, you're just on a high. Look, we've all had, you know, moments, you know, crushing moments, you know, letdowns and so on. And I suppose it's how long you spend in that frequency of, you know, victimhood. I feel terrible and this has happened to me. It's how long you stay in there.
Yeah.
And you gotta then change. You gotta think, actually, it's not that bad, because then again, you could see an amputee. Well, thank God I have my legs.
Yeah.
And then automatically your mindset is changed for that little bit.
Perspective.
Thank God I can get into the car and drive.
Do you know what, though, Nicola? You have to have the lows to appreciate the highs.
Well, you certainly do. And I think that everybody does. I mean, people are lying if they haven't gone through, do you know?
Yeah. How do you define a good day if you've only ever had good days? It just becomes a normal day.
It just becomes a normal day.
So you have to have a bad day to appreciate the good days, you know?
Yeah.
And that's life. It's up and down. It's like a graph. You got to appreciate the lows. And that's a mindset shift.
Yeah.
In order to appreciate the highs, you learn to appreciate the lows. It's like, yeah, I've had a shit day today, but do you know what? That's going to make tomorrow so much better.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of people, especially I think that if you have people that suffer trauma or a grief, it's a different kind of, it's going to take you, you know, there was so many interesting stories today. Look, I've been very blessed in a way. Yes, I've suffered grief, but it was with my aunt. But, you know, people that have lost very suddenly their mum or their dad or their sister and brother, I mean, that's a different kind of mindset you need.
Trauma's a deep one. I've had quite a few conversations around trauma on this, and those deep-rooted traumas can have such long-term effects. It's horrible to do it, but you have to rip the plaster off sometimes, go back and address those underlying traumas. A lot of the time, it's underlying traumas that then manifest in behaviour in your adult life or years down the line, which you're never going to really improve upon it unless you address that underlying trauma that is bringing out the behavior as a result of it. It's a very complex
it's a very
psychological
complex
conversation.
I lost my aunt and it was terrible. Like, it was devastating, but obviously a lot more devastating for my mum. That was her sister. And my mum would probably say it kind of changed her as well. I mean, to lose somebody that close very quickly. But she's very strong-minded and resilient. And then, you know, and it's I suppose then, obviously that stays with you, but how long do you stay in that kind of low frequency of, you know, real that? And again, it's a challenge for any human. Every human is different. I suppose you can only do the tools that you're given and the people that surround you, that you're surrounded with as well.
You're spot on though. There comes a point, so it's absolutely okay to be there and feel it. Like, that nobody can be happy all the time, and shit things happen in life, and it is absolutely okay to feel bad, to feel down, to feel traumatized about things. But there does come a point where you have to decide to move. Like you said, you have to decide to step out of it and go, right, okay, I need to get on now.
Yeah.
And I need to pick up, because unfortunately there are people that will have traumatic things happen to them in life, and then it becomes their identity, and they live in that victim state of that event for the rest of their lives.
Well, yeah, some people are like that then for the rest of their lives, because then, I've seen it from, you know, from.
I think that's really tragic.
It's so, and then you try and help. You would try and, you know, there was somebody, you know, a friend of mine, you know, but everything was kind of going wrong, but you'd be like, yeah, but this is okay. But the more everything was wrong. So it depends how long you're going to stay in there, because I suppose you've only got one life, and this life is precious.
Oh God,
and there's so many opportunities, like even if it's something simple, like going out for a walk in nature, going out and, you know, having a walk, stroll, drive to your nearest seaside or get a bus there and take in the fresh air, take in this small things like that can have a massive effect and change on going, thank God I'm alive, I see another day. But that's, I mean, it's all very deep.
That's what this is all about.
Do you
know what, Nicola? There's a question that I ask all of my guests, or I try to. I forget probably 30% of the time. A question that I ask everybody on repeat, because I think it's interesting to get people's perspectives on it. And it's centered around what the podcast is about. So obviously the construction industry has got this crisis around mental health, which reflects on these horrible statistics that we hear around like suicide. And one of the things, I mean, we hear about the people that take their own lives, but we don't hear so much about the people that attempt it, and the people that have breakdowns, and the people that are sat at home suffering with stress, anxiety, and all the rest of it. The construction industry in the UK seems to be really disproportionately affected compared to other industries. And it's just to ask you why you think that is.
Well, but with the construction industry in the UK?
Why is the construction industry so badly affected compared to other industries?
Compared to other industries, well, I think we've touched on a few of the subjects. I think that given the fact that a lot of the work can be outside, we do not have the best climate. It's cold, it's wet, it's miserable, it's dark a lot of the time. I think that a lot of the people have to work on their own. And things like, I would want to say about the UK as well, it's very busy. There's lots of traffic, lots of pressure to get to somewhere on time, to get your parking, to get to that job. There's so, you know, all of those things will add on to it, I think, as well. And I think then with the tool theft, I suppose it's like an epidemic nearly at this stage, has massively affected a lot of people. And I think then obviously because crime has risen, the police force, there's not the resources there, because we spoke with the police. So I think there's so many factors. But I do think as well, I think for tradespeople out there on their own in very cold winter months, people not paying people, financial, I think that people then, there's so many factors. As I said, within Australia, it's not that high, and they're men in construction. Why is that? I think people maybe have more respect. They pay people. They don't need people hanging for payment. They'd be actually very good payers, you know, things like that. And crime in Australia, funny enough, isn't as high as England or Ireland. I don't know why that is. I don't have the answers to that. but it's just, I think maybe more of a community minded, and maybe it's there's less population as well. There's less just crime, and the weather, you're waking up, it's sunny. The sunlight is a big thing that affects people. You hear about this SAD thing, and that's like, seasonal.
Yes. Yeah, I know.
Something
disorder, yeah.
You're getting up, and I think in Finland as well, it's an extremely high rate of suicide in Finland because it's dark all the time. If you're living in darkness, if you have a plant, you have this fake light, like an LED, like will simulate sunshine. We need sunlight to grow. You need the sun. That's why people crave these. Obviously, you see like the airports bunged, and rightly so. Now, not everybody's in a position, I get that, to have like 2 holidays a year. But maybe something like, I don't know, get one of those lamps in your house or something. You need to go to the gym. You got to look after it. Small little things, going for a walk, the gym, things like that. I don't have obviously all the answers. I know that's just from talking to different people, friends that are in control. They will do that. They'll go to the gym in the morning or whatever. And they just, various tips they have. But I think massively people not paying people, tool theft. And it's really the environment that we're in. The UK is very crushed, trying to get to a job, the traffic, the cold, the dark, it's raining, it's freezing. I have to get up at 4 a.m. That can all break somebody eventually. So then if something happens privately, I guess, like a death or sickness or a divorce, all of that is really going to come tumbling on top of you, because I know that these tradespeople work so hard, and it's a hard graft. Physically, it's a hard graft.
Appreciate your insight on that, Nicola.
Yeah.
To be fair, I think you're spot on.
Yeah.
My own personal view on it is that you're correct on all of it. I think when people really hit that dark spot, is it combines. So if you imagine somebody, like you said, maybe they haven't been paid, so they're waiting on that, so they've got the pressure of that, and they work on their own, so they've got the pressure of that, and they're working on their own.
Yeah.
And then they have their tools nicked. So you've got this perfect.
There's only so much shit you can put on the layer of shit that some people just have a breaking point. I can't do this. So, for example, in rural Ireland, agriculture would be the biggest.
Yeah.
Because there's factors, and it's really harrowing to hear the amount of young guys that take their life in rural Ireland. And why is that? They've been, a lot of them now, there's lots of happy people out there, but that would be the highest there. They are rural Ireland. So you're getting up, it's cold, it's depressing. You're getting up at 4 a.m, it's agriculture. You might be still at home. A lot of these farms are passed down to their, their children. So they feel that they have to stay there and work the farm. And farming, there's obviously a lot of, very wealthy farmers, but there's a lot, that's hard work. You're going in and working the land, agriculture, out in, big heavy machinery, in the dark with the, milking the animals and all that kind of stuff that goes on. And that can be a lot of isolation. You're in the middle of nowhere. A lot of toil and work for maybe very little. They might not see a way out. And it's a scary number of young men in rural Ireland that do that. So it wouldn't be so I don't think it would be construction. And again, I don't know, so don't quote me because I don't have all the stats and all of that. But I think everybody has definitely a breaking point. And I think why it's higher with men, what I feel is, and again, I could be completely wrong, that women just talk more.
I don't think you're wrong. I think you're spot on.
Women talk all the time. And they'd be like ringing up, did you hear what he did? Did you? I can't believe it. And they talk, and all right, that's not a gossipy thing. That is offloading. I need to ring somebody. Whereas a lot of men won't. I think it's an ego thing.
Yeah.
And then every man that I've spoken with, a lot of them in the building, how's things going? Oh, it's brilliant. And they'll put on like it's really good.
Yeah.
And maybe it's actually really shit. And I've had like different trades people, because I built up a lot of friendships, and they've told me things that have gone shit, but they could only maybe tell me because I'm, I would be very discreet. I would never, tell any stories, but they probably don't have maybe anybody else to say, because they're, a gang of lads, and they're all meant to be good fun, and it's all meant to be fun banter, and sometimes it ain't funny.
You're right. So I've got the same. I've got a group of mates that I've known since school. A lot of them are in the trades. We have a lot of surface level banter, but there's nothing that really goes very deep.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of it is the crack, the banter, but we don't, you know, it's how you doing, mate? Yeah, I'm sound. You never
Yeah,
really
it's
get
like
much
that.
further than that.
Yeah. Because people don't want, and then people are probably hesitant, thinking, God, they don't want to hear about one of my problems. They don't, and then that's where you bottle it up.
Yeah.
So, and often I don't, like, you know, I'm not saying I've humongous amount of problem. You know, everybody has something. One stress to you could be very different to me.
100%, yeah.
You know, it's all about perception. Something really small. Like, I was talking to somebody the other day, and the problem they were worried about, I was like, are you serious? You were like, and then I made them, I was like, stop with that. That's not even a problem. This is a problem. But, you know, like, it's all about perception. So sometimes that kind of banter can make somebody feel better. Going, oh yeah, no, actually it's grand. But you know, I do think that women talk a lot more, and that's great. But I think the tide is changing, certainly with things like this, the thing that you're doing, and the amazing work as well that Band of Builders do. Yeah. You know, they have the I want to say, it's not a coffee morning, it's a brew morning.
Yeah.
They encourage, obviously, tradespeople to come in. Again, like, you know, these tradespeople that go in, I salute them, because it's heavy labour, lugging all that stuff into the van. You're freezing cold. Your apprentice might not have turned up. You might have had a fight with, you know, somebody at home, and oh my God, and you're going in. So it's really good that a lot of these building merchants have created this little community within. We do a lot of like demo days and so on. And I know that a lot of our sales reps and sales managers, merchandisers, they can be really good banter. And we started that up, and we actually started having breakfast at them. So we were kind of one of the first to do that. So we'd have, like, obviously you're there to sell your products as well, like, see, you know, show the demonstration is going to be. But we always encourage, we did one there with the National not so long ago. And I said, and I told them, and I goes, have bacon buddies and tea and coffee ready for these tradespeople. They're coming in at 7 a.m, freezing their asses off, you know, and they're coming in really to kind of support their local merchant, to support, and we obviously want them to come in, because at the end of the day, obviously, you still have to run a business.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
I'd say a little thanks, give them a cup of tea and a bacon buddy. And then they all hang around, and they all have a bit of banter, and maybe not, they're all not going to go into all of their kind of, you know, problems and all that happening, but sometimes a bit of comic relief and a bit of light banter can go a long way.
100%.
Yeah.
That's where that community power is so big, you know, and I think to an extent, I've said this a few times, but I think we all, like, I know how hard it is in the trades. I've been in the trades my whole life. I'm third generation, so I've come from a family that have been in the trades. And we all know this. So it's kind of, we've all got to take a little bit of responsibility to look after each other within the trades community, because we are the ones that know how the pressures are and how hard it can be.
Yeah.
So look after each other, you know, reach out, look after ourselves, and check on your fellow sort of, you know, your fellow tradesperson, your friends within the industry. And that's one of the good things to social media, is that reach now, where, like, I've got decorators that I speak to all over the country.
Yeah.
You know, and people do sort of keep an eye on each other. People go a bit quiet, then, you know, you'll send a message, I heard from you for a while, mate, you're right.
That's what I love. I think that people should do that more often. And look, at that person might not even give you the whole spiel of it. I might not even, but to know that they've been valued and validated, and somebody does care, can go an awful long way.
Absolutely.
But you know what? Then, you know, social media can be great for that, and then, you know, it can be fickle as well. I remember the time, you know, when Caroline Flack, God rest her soul, died, and then there was a big thing, be kind, which was great. And then in the next instance, there was another celebrity and had been outed for something, whatever. I mean, he didn't commit murder, whatever. And then it was like a witch hunt on the guy.
Oh, so yeah.
And I just think that, hang on a wee second. Did everybody not say last week, be kind? Now this week, they want him strung up and quartered and put in front of a public court. I don't know what he did. I think that, you know, whatever it did, it wasn't, you know, but it was like a witch hunt for that person. And I was like, hang on. What if that witch hunt made that person do that, what you were after saying about Caroline, right, be kind? I think be kind to everybody, unless somebody's done like a heinous crime. You know, people, you know, be gentle completely. With, you know, people.
Just be kinder to each other.
I think
it's as simple as that, isn't it?
Well, look at that, but saying it as well. I think then as well, I always like to say, and some people would disagree, oh, there's so many bad people in the world. I genuinely believe there's way more good people in the world than bad.
I agree with you. I just don't think, as we said before, we don't talk about the good.
Yeah, I think that there's a lot more. And again, I go back to, and it's massive kudos to Gavin, because I've actually had a conversation with Gavin about this, because the work that band builders do, oh my God. And then, you know, you see really sad, like really just such sad stories. And it was really bringing tears. Like sometimes, you know, I cry, and I've said to Gavin, I was like, how do you do it? Now we support it, and I'm so glad that we are able to contribute to the unbelievable work that they do and life-changing work that they do. I was like, how do you do it? Like, how do you walk away? Because it just, you know, the work that he does, we need people like him. We need more people like him that have that kind of resilience not to let it, you know, consume him, and then to carry on like this angel on earth, really, kind of thing, you know. So
they do fantastic work. Band Builders are great. Lighthouse Club, they do some incredible work as well.
Yeah.
And again, I'm always promoting all these guys that have got the support for the people that are struggling, because I know Band Builders and Lighthouse both have like hotlines that people can ring 24/7. People are in trouble. I think they can both offer financial and sort of like psychological help to people that are struggling. So absolutely invaluable services, both of them.
Yeah. I think that what they do is just to dedicate. These people that dedicate their life to helping other people. I was just like, you know, just like I just admire them so much, because we can all get, you know, what your problems seem, it can concern, but like what these people are doing is like giving up their life to. I just admire them so much. I just think they're unbelievable people.
But it also, you know, to give people like yourselves credit, they wouldn't be able to do what they do without the support from brands and people such as yourself.
Well, that's
essentially they're charitable.
They are charitable, yeah. And we, as I said, as a company, CT1 as a brand, and my mum and dad have always been extremely generous. And I do believe, because it's filtered down in the culture, like the whole company, we're very compassionate, as in terms of, and all of our, you know, sales rep, they all represent CT1 so well that we never, you know, would bully another sales rep or be horrible. Like, it's just a really good culture. And I think that has helped us where we are today, and that kind of mindset, and, you know, we give a lot back, and it's very humbling. And I actually went, this is actually, it's not a funny story, but it's a story. But I was so we sponsor support this charity, and we have done for a number of years. And I'm only saying it now is because only the last 2 years we started promoting it, but we've been behind the scenes. Well, my parents have been behind the scenes for the past 10, 15 years supporting it. But why we've gone a bit public with this, but we do other stuff and people don't know about, is because it was helping them promote the charity. So basically it's the Northern Ireland Lapland Trust, and it's an amazing organisation, or what they do. And they basically take terminally ill children or children with disabilities over to Lapland to see Santa.
Oh, amazing.
And they are, oh my God, I feel like crying, but everybody's problems are big to them, but you think, you're like, oh my God, what people have to, and the resilience these people have, and smiles on their faces. But basically they asked me to go along, right, to Lapland, right? So I was on the flight, and there was obviously all these beautiful children, and I actually made friends with this little boy, Owen, and he was a little boy who died. Anyway, but all of the other adults had children, right? So now I'm the only adult with no child on. So I'm now going into Santa. I'm going in to see Santa, and I wanted to get a lend of a child. I said, "Can I borrow?" But I really want to go and see Santa, and I was like, "Oh God, I don't know what they were going to think." So they made me go in and see Santa, but I had no child. So then they made me go in, and I was like, "Please don't make me go in." So then I was sitting in the elf workshop. I was actually like elf. So I was sitting here. I was sitting here tinkering away, but I had no child with me. So I think they thought I was like an adult, like
a bit special.
A bit special. So I'm tinkering away, and they're like, "You okay?" And I was like, I often ask myself that, but it was very funny. Like, it's a funny story. That I was like, and there's me sitting making toys on my own with no child. I was like, can I take a lend of your child? But to these people that work on this charity, dedicate all their life to this. I'm like, now, obviously, there's obviously very sad moments because and it's just like, I really, really admire these people. And it was probably one of the most humbling experiences that I had. And I honestly felt like crying when I went home. But then, you're so grateful. Like, this is my thing. I have all my faculties. There's some people that would give anything to be able to go out and walk out in the door and have that. So I think then, that something like that is so humbling, because no matter how bad things get, take the small things, because even they would take the small things that they still could see or one could hear, it's taking the small things like, but it was one of the most humbling experiences I had. And it's just like, and I often reflect back to that and thinking, oh, this is actually a bullshit problem. Yeah. That's actually not a problem. What am I grumbling about?
Small things and perspective, Nicola, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think, they're two really, really key things if you can learn to master them. But I think, do you know what? It's been a really insightful conversation. I think I've actually got to know a lot about you and how you navigate what you have to navigate. Yeah. I think, and you've given out some incredible advice to anybody that's a busy person, which most of us self-employed people are.
Thank you.
Before we wrap things up, is there anything that we haven't spoke about that you did want to speak about?
I think I think we've touched kind of on everything. I think it's I'd like to obviously, thank you for having us, having CT1.
Pleasure is all mine.
It's always very humbling as well for CT1 to be invited on to give, to tell our story and to be part of the building community. I think it's a fantastic community. I suppose then it's just to encourage everybody to be a bit nicer to each other online. I think that's a really powerful thing. So,
I love that.
I like it. And we don't get many negative comments. Thank God. That's great. And then the one or two I say, I kind of like it, just like, because it's like, it's not a nice thing to do, but you rise above it. But I think that everybody has a responsibility to their fellow human and comrade in life to spread a bit of joy and be nice and get on the CT1 limo. This limo is going to get bigger and bigger.
Objective in life is to make it into the CT1 limo just to see what happens.
Yeah, see what happens. But and I guess I see a lot of people. I'm hoping at the installer show, and specifically for this audience, we will be at the paint and decorating show in November. So come up to the stand, say hello. There's always some entertainment happening, but I think that's pretty much it. I think that.
A massive thank you for giving up your time and coming and being a part of it.
No, not at all.
There's 100% value to be taken from the conversation, which is all I'm interested in. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just before we do finally wrap it up, where can people find you? Or if you don't want to give out your personal, where can people find CT1?
Oh, well, obviously, if you go on to the Instagram, there's CT1 Sealant, and then I'm on there somewhere, and Walsh 30, and a lot of people, add me and want to have a chat and all of that, and that's great. Because they want it, they might even say, could you send out a little key ring or something, and so much so many people want to wear a CT1 hoodie.
Yeah.
They love wearing it. So we're flat out sending hoodies. So we're actually thinking of maybe starting on. That's why I was talking to your friend with the hats. What do you call him?
Steve from Uncle Matt's Hats.
Uncle Matt's Hats. We're thinking of maybe, going down the line of our own workwear as well.
Oh, well, okay.
Yeah. Because,
fantastic.
And then we were looking at then doing it through Uncle Matt's Hats, because that money goes, if they buy the hats through that, would go to charity.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I'll have a chat with you about that.
And then all the best to everybody doing that walk. You're not tricking me walking up a mountain at night time. That I draw the line. I like fitness, but like that kind of stuff is
Nicola, like the support you guys are giving is great. And just CT1 sharing the stuff that you've already been sharing, it just puts more eyes on what we're trying to do, which is raise money. It's a two-pronged thing, really, because I want to raise as much money as we can for Project 7000 because it's an incredible cause. But also just the build-up to it and on the event itself, it's just all about raising mental health awareness because the symbolism behind it of the climb from darkness, climbing out of mental health, is just to show that anybody can do it one step at a time. If you're in the darkness, you can climb out of that.
Oh, that's right. That's very good. I love that.
Which is why the intention. So I think we're setting off at about midnight because we're going to aim to hit the summit for sunrise to see sunrise on top of
now
Snowdon.
that would be amazing to do. And again, lifting people's spirits and doing that's amazing. I did actually my first hike, and it was actually last year, and that's the last time I did that. Now it was great crack and everything, because I like I like obviously fitness, and I love. I live near the water, so I love taking some walks, and it's just beautiful scenery and all that. But that was hardcore, and I did an awful lot of complaining up there. Are we nearly there? Is this over? I'm cold.
Well, there's a few of your CT1 guys coming along anyway. So
they can fly the flag, but no, it's fantastic.
Well, we're all flying the flag. I've got the beanies. We've all got the CT1 beanies.
That's great.
On the way up, so we'll all be doing that.
And we did another one. Well, I didn't do it, but a lot of people did it. It was, I want to say, what's another famous mountain here? That everybody wants to climb.
Ben Nevis.
No, there's another one. Snowdon.
Snowdon's the one we're doing.
Oh, right. Then that one again, right. Yeah. We did another chat, and they all did that, but it looked, I was like, I'm not doing that. That looks like something out of Lord of the Rings stuff. I'm not doing that.
It'll be amazing. But again, a massive thank you to the support there, because it all really does make a big difference.
Oh, no. And thank you for all the good work that you're doing, because you're obviously taking time out of because you are on the tools yourself.
Still very much on the tools,
and spreading the word. See, Dally, over here.
Purpose. That's what it's all about. I enjoy it. So, fantastic. Thank you again, Nicola. Absolute pleasure. And I will catch you guys again soon on the next one.
Great. Thank you.